Most people think they understand the Miami Dolphins, but the more you actually look into this team, the stranger it gets. Because this isn't just a football franchise. It's one of the few teams where the history, the culture, the decisions, and even the controversies all follow the same pattern. Nothing moves in a straight line. It never really has. And it starts in the 1960s with Joe Robbie. Now, this part already tells you everything, because Robbie wasn't just building a team. He was constantly dealing with power struggles, ownership issues, league politics, arguments over where the team would even play. At one point, he basically gets pushed out of the stadium situation. And instead of backing down, he does something almost no owner does. He builds his own stadium. Privately funded. Huge financial risk. No guarantee it would even work. And that becomes what is known as Hard Rock Stadium. And that decision matters because from the very beginning, this team is tied to control in a way most teams aren't. Now, move into the 1970s because this is where things go from unusual to historic. Under Don Shula, you get one of the most disciplined teams in NFL history. And in 1972, they do something that has never been repeated. 17-0 perfect season. Super Bowl win. Led by Rob, Greasy, Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, Paul Warfield, and what's interesting isn't just that they won. It's how controlled they were. Nothing chaotic, nothing unpredictable. And yet, that perfect season has never been matched. Not once. And every year, when the last undefeated team loses, the surviving players pop champagne. Which sounds fun, but also kind of intense. Because it's like they're protecting that record. Now, fast forward, because this is where things start to feel different. Enter Dan Marino, one of the most talented quarterbacks ever. In 1984, he throws 48 touchdowns. At that same time, that was unheard of. He takes the team to a Super Bowl early, and then never gets back. Not once. And that becomes one of the biggest what-if stories in sports. Because on paper, everything should have worked. But it didn't. And that almost, but quite pattern keeps showing up. Now, here's something people don't really talk about enough. The culture around the team. Because Miami isn't a quiet city. It's social. It's visible. It's layered. And the Miami Dolphins Cheerleaders became something much, much bigger than most teams. Calendars, international shoots, media appearances. They became a global brand, which is unusual because most teams never go that far outside of the game. And because Miami is such a social city, there's always been overlap between players, events, media, nightlife. And while the NFL is structured publicly, Miami has always had a reputation for being less predictable behind the scenes. Now, fast forward again, because this is where things get more serious. In 2013, the Dolphins became the center of a major controversy. What people call Bullygate. It involved Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito. And Martin left the team mid-season. And reports came out about harassment inside the locker room. voicemails, messages, behavior that crossed the line. The NFL investigated it and said it went too far. But at the same time, some players said, this is just locker room culture. Others said, no, this was something else. And suddenly, this wasn't about football anymore. It became a national conservation about actually happening in these scenes. Now, move forward again, because the pattern doesn't stop. Ownership shifts and you get Stephen Ross. And this is where things get even more controversial, because at one point, there was an investigation into tanking. Former coach Brian Flores accused the organization, and specifically Ross, of offering incentives to lose games. He claimed he was offered money per loss, which sounds insane, but it became part of the NFL investigation. The league said there wasn't enough evidence to prove that specific claim. But they still fined the team heavily and took away draft picks for other violations. So you end up in this strange place where nothing is fully confirmed, but something clearly wasn't right. And again, it fits the pattern, because with this team, the biggest stories aren't always on the field. Now, add something else to that. The way they actually play now. Because their offense, especially with Tyreek Hill, looks different. Pre-snap motion, timing, speed. And if you watch closely, it almost looks like they're moving early. Now, nothing has been officially called cheating, but people have definitely noticed. Fans, analysts, players, other coaches, all asking the same thing. Are they just faster, or are they pushing the edge? And again, that fits the pattern. A team that operates right at the line without clearly stepping over it. And then you get to right now. Because even today, this team feels unpredictable, especially around the draft. There's no single clear narrative. It's just reactions. Some people think they're building something smart. Others think they're just reacting in real time. You hear things like, what's the plan? What's the move? Are they building something or resetting again? And that's where the gossip comes in. Not confirmed, not official, just how people interpret what they're saying. Because with this team, every move feels bigger than it is. And whether that's true or not, it creates a pattern. A team that always feels like it's one move away, but never completely predictable. And when you step back, look at all of it. The history, the dominance, the missed opportunities, the controversy, the decisions, speculation. It all follows the same pattern. This is not a team that moves in a straight line. Which is why, when you actually look at it, the Miami Dolphins, it stops feeling like just a football team and starts feeling like something much, much bigger, hiding in plain sight. See you tomorrow, guys.